Let's get into the categories here, shall we? There are four categories that we can vote for. Male Player of the Year, Female Player of the Year, Young Male Player of the Year, and Young Female Player of the Year, which is where we'll start. Here are your nominees. Onyeka Gamero, great year for the under-20s. Savannah King, another player that made the jump from U17s to U20s. Olivia Moultrie, great U20 World Cup, still eligible to play in the next one. Ali Settner, she was the captain of the US U20s, and of course Alyssa Thompson, who was on the US senior squad at the World Cup at just 18 years old. Herc, who gets your vote here?
I mean, this is a fairly easy one for me. It's Alyssa Thompson, and listen, Alyssa Thompson's 18 years old, and this year she started 13 games for Angel City, scored 4 goals, and I actually was there the day she debuted against Futbol Americas, and you can just see it instantly. There's a difference about her. There's a different gear. Physically, she's ahead. She's got that X factor. And she parlayed that into a U.S. women's national team appearance, which she parlayed then into a World Cup berth for her. I know that she only played 2 games, 16 minutes total, 15 in one and 1 minute in the other. That's not on her. That's on Vlatko Andonovski. But she is a difference maker and will be a difference maker. And at 18 years of age, the best way I could describe her is she looks like she belongs. Every game I've watched, whether it's club or country, she doesn't look out of place. She looks like another player. She looks like she'd be a future difference maker. She's the clear one for me.
So just to be clear, it's national team performances, right, that we're supposed to use for criteria when making these awards. I mean, great names on this list, but when you've got one that played in the Senior World Cup, I don't know how, Herc, you could give it to anybody but Alyssa Thompson. Just an incredible player. I'm with you, man. In fact, when I think back at the World Cup, my great regret is that we didn't get more of her. We effectively got her in one game against Vietnam, and we didn't really see her against the proper competition that you want to see this young talent against at the World Cup elite stage. So, I mean, that's probably the only disappointing part of her year is the small role that she played at the World Cup. But amongst this crew, she's absolutely got to be the top on the list, though there's a lot of talent here. I mean, Olivia Moultrie made her senior debut, and Onyeka Gamero, man, is a name not to forget. We've had her highlights on this show a couple times from like CONCACAF qualifying tournaments. She's skipping college and going to go play in Barcelona. She's playing with Barcelona B right now. Seems to have made a pretty good adjustment, fitting in well right there for her first few months abroad. So lots of young talent in that pool. We talked about it with Jeff Kassouf the other day. Maybe some worries about the American talent pool, not at the younger edge for sure. What about the younger edge of the male talent pool? Who you got for Young Male Player of the Year? Herc, I'll give you the nominees here. Nimfasha Berchimas, he was the 15-year-old that lit up the Under-17 World Cup. We got Gianluca Busio, played a lot with the Olympic group, playing over in Serie B with Venezia. Kevin Paredes of Wolfsburg, played in the U20 World Cup. They got to the quarterfinals, made his senior debut in September. Jack McGlynn of the Philadelphia Union, played all 5 games at the Under-20 World Cup. And Inter Miami's Benjamin Cremaschi made his senior debut with the U.S. in September against Oman. He's also been a big part of the, let's call it, pre-Olympic group. Herc, who's getting your vote here?
You know, I could make a case for pretty much any one of these players, but for me, I'm going to go with 20-year-old Jack McGlynn. Let me tell you why I'm going with Jack McGlynn. Listen, I know this is U.S. men's national team, right? But Jack McGlynn made 27 appearances for Philly Union, Jim Curtin's Philly Union, as a 20-year-old in the center of the midfield. He should have parlayed that into a full U.S. men's national team call-up. It's actually a tragedy that Jack McGlynn, as talented as he was, didn't. And others were ahead of him. The man's got a very talented left foot. For the U23s, he's played in all but one game in 2023. Very important part of that team. The U20s that qualified for the U20 World Cup, important part of that team. I was upset this season when, no offense to Benjamin Cremaschi, but it was Benjamin Cremaschi that got called up, and not a player like Jack McGlynn. I surely feel like he didn't get his due with the full national team being a youth player. So I'm going to give it to Jack McGlynn. I thought he had a very good display with the U23s, a very good season with Philly, which I thought should have been parlayed into a full national team cap.
I know the criteria is what you've done with the international teams at whatever level, but for this one, I'm applying my criteria, which is kind of closest to a real role in the senior national team. And for that reason, Herc, I'm going with Kevin Paredes. Just a really strong finish to the year. He got called in the September window. He got called in the October window. He got called in the November window. There was not just playing time in there. There was starts. There was, I know it was an assist on an own goal as we're seeing there, but even a little bit of productivity. Obviously, you know, the wing positions for the U.S. men's national team are stacked. But when you get a Christian Pulisic out, or when you get a Tim Weah out, it's nice to look at a guy like Kevin Paredes, who's seen his role continue to grow and grow in the Bundesliga, and be able to rely on that. It's another testament to what I always say, which is just the incredible depth of the U.S. men's national team pool. All right, let's move it up.
I'm sure I have nothing to do because he's from DC.
Oh, yes, and by the way, he is not just a DC United product, a Bethesda Soccer Club product. Bethesda Soccer Club near and dear.
There you go. There you go.
To my heart. Let's get to our Female Player of the Year candidates, shall we? And there are some good ones here. Who do we got? Lindsey Horan, Crystal Dunn, Emily Fox, Naomi Girma, and Sophia Smith. Not a great year for the U.S. women's national team, so who gets your vote here, Herc?
Wow, this is almost addition by subtraction, right? This is the easiest pick for me, if I'm being honest, because it's Naomi Girma, and it's not even close. You look at what the 2023 was for the U.S. women's national team, and you look at dominant players. There was no more dominant, player at the World Cup, or I should say, bright spot at the World Cup than Naomi Girma and Julie Ertz in that center back position, that center back duo. Naomi Girma had a breakout World Cup. I think she's going to be a force to be reckoned with for a long time, for the better part of a decade. She's been dominant every time she steps on the field. This was by far the easiest choice out of all the picks for Player of the Year for the national teams that we're going to make tonight.
Yeah, I won't disagree with you. I get the point you're making. You're kind of saying, hey, nobody had a good tournament. She had the least bad tournament, so kind of by default, I'm giving it to Naomi Girma. You think she had a good tournament?
Yeah, they had the best defensive team, Seb, and she was easily, that was the bright spot for the U.S. women's national team, was Julie Ertz and Naomi Girma.
If it's a bright spot, I'll allow that, but a very bright spot,
that's a best 11 type of bright spot, Seb. It's not on them that the team was, it's not on them that the team had no punch, had no bite up top. Defensively, I think they were the best defensive team in that World Cup.
All right, we were, if you're saying that statistically, if you're saying that by the eyeball test, I got to disagree. I'm sorry, man. I saw how Portugal made them look.
What's the eyeball test to keeping the ball out of the net?
I mean, you got to be able to keep chances away from your goal against teams like Portugal. They almost get knocked out of the group phase because they couldn't keep the ball out of their net. Ball off the post or they're gone in the group phase.
Portugal had one chance and hit the post, Seb.
That's vulnerability. Come on. I'm going to vote Lindsey Horan here.
The best part of that national team.
I'm going to vote Lindsey Horan here. I give it to Lindsey Horan because in a World Cup where not a lot of people did anything, she did something. Of the 4 goals the U.S. scored, she had 2. I think she also scored her penalty in the shootout against Sweden. And her goal, you talk about bright spots and the fact that there were few of them at the World Cup, her goal against Netherlands was like the one moment of the World Cup. There were some moments against Sweden where you felt like they were playing well. But it was the one moment of the World Cup where I truly thought, there's that American fighting spirit. And it came from the number 10. It came from the captain. It came from the only player on the roster who's playing in Europe, or was at least playing in Europe at the time of the World Cup. So Lindsey Horan gets my vote for the 2023 U.S. Soccer Female Player of the Year. All right, one more to give out, Herc. Male Player of the Year for 2023. Your nominees are Valerian Balogun, Yunus Musa, Ricardo Pepi, Christian Pulisic, and Matt Turner. Who you taking?
All right, let me just say it's, well, first off, it's Ricardo Pepi. Let's get that out of the way right now. Ricardo Pepi, come on down. He is your U.S. men's national team Player of the Year. This man scored 7 goals in 10 appearances. He played, checking, 364 minutes total this year. That's a goal every 52 minutes. Oh, and by the way, he did the majority of his damage coming off the bench. Disrespected, not taken to the last World Cup. How does he respond when he finally comes back to the U.S. men's national team? Lead the team in scoring. Every time you get on the field, prove why you should be there, albeit by being a kid 20 years of age. Ricardo Pepi is here to stay. And I don't want to hear anything about is he or is he not the player of the year? He is. And I don't want to hear anything about should he or should he not be in the debate as the starting 9? He should be. And here's another thing, okay? Ricardo Pepi, take it. Run with it. That's you. You've earned it. Nobody's taking this from you. But can I say how ridiculous it is that Anthony Robinson isn't one of the nominations here? And this is nothing against Fowler and Balogun. But Fowler and Balogun scored 2 goals total for the U.S. men's national team. And in those performances, didn't look like he felt comfortable. Anthony Robinson's had a banner year for club. Keep the club out of it if you want. If you want. And country. The man, when he's been on the field, the U.S. men's national team only had 1 goal scored against them. And that was when Serginho Dest got red carded in Trinidad. He's a force to be reckoned with down that left-hand side. He's even chipping in with some goals and assists. I thought he had a banner year, and I could not believe he wasn't one of the nominees.
It's a good shout. It's that anti-defender bias that we never, ever succumb to here on Futbol Americas. My pick goes to Christian Pulisic. Well, you're right. There's one example. But that wasn't anti-defender. I'm going Christian Pulisic, man, and I'm leaning on the productivity here. Numbers are pretty clear. 8 appearances, 6 goals, 3 assists. Can't shake a stick at that. You got the CONCACAF Nations League title. You got more big moments against Mexico, not 1 goal, but 2. In the CONCACAF Nations League semifinals on a pretty big night there in Las Vegas. You got a great close to the year. Goals against Ghana, goals against Germany, including that one right there. What a beauty. Got a goal in the fall against Uzbekistan as well. Already won it 3 times, Herc, in his career. And only 25 years old. Who knows, one day they may have to rename the award after Christian Pulisic. What do you think? You got any problem with my Pulisic vote?
Listen, it's a fair shout because while Ricardo Pepi scored more goals, there was no person who had more impactful goals in moments, big moments, than a Christian Pulisic. And big moments versus Mexico, the big moments versus Germany, the bright spot, I should say. He is Captain America, the face of, I should say, U.S. soccer. But I'm going to stick with Ricardo Pepi, but it's not a bad shout. And you're probably right. By the time it's all said and done, they'll name the award after him. He'll be the all-time leading goal scorer. He may make a run at Landon Donovan's all-time assist record, which Neymar is just short of on the world's stage. So what can I say? I mean, right now he's doing everything right.
There it is, our ballots for the 2023 U.S. Soccer End of Year Awards. You'll have to wait till 2024 to find out who actually wins them.